knowing where to begin when doing the first draft of Insinmind, or how the conception of this novel was even coming to play in my mind since 2011. Like, there's a lot of interesting things that are going on. Strangely, one of the first villains that were coming into mind in like 2012 was Capron, but he wasn't even in the first draft, despite the fact that I thought of him years before the first draft in like 2012, of him just simply fighting Zeph Drastic. And Capron, in a way, was supposed to be like the villain of this series. And the series wasn't even called Insinmind in my mind. It was either called Zanny Trampoli or the Rabid Lands. I remember when my first imagination started stirring in my mind of it all, when I was like thinking of like Bianca from like Spyro, and there was just like music of what was the anime called? It's something about Soul Reaper. No, it's not something of Bleach, but Bleach did have something to do with this inspiration. But it was something about Soul Reaver or Soul Reaper. I don't know what it's called. It was some anime, and I imagined the music on like that, playing in the background, and Bianca was like going crazy. Bianca from like Spyro was like, like she's showing her teeth, and it was like really dark, and it was in a house, and she was like, and she was like, she had like rabies and all. Really messed up type of junk, really. Like how this was going in my mind, how this was all changing and eventually becoming what it is now. Like the development of my mind for like this since like almost 7 to 8 years. I've been thinking about this was going on for quite some time. And how I came up with the character, like how I originally imagined the main character, this is one that will haunt me forever. Like, part of it is a mix of Ichigo, okay? Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. And this one, oh my God, you're gonna have your jaw drop when I tell you the other one. Like, there's two halves to this. The other half is Ichigo Kurosaki. And I was imagining the song Stand Up, Be Strong, Know Right From Wrong. Forever releases something, I don't remember specifically. It was at the Eiffel Tower. And, I was imagining Timmy for freaking NIMH 2. Okay, Timmy, you heard me. Timmy Brisby, like, is it Timmy Brisby or Timmy Brisby? I don't freaking know. But I was imagining him merged with Ichigo Kurosaki's body, okay? And he has like, well, instead of having like a black clothing like Ichigo, it's white. And he's fighting with this large sword, and he's fighting against a Radican-like figure with red eyes, glowing red eyes. And the song Stand Up, Be Strong, Know Right From Wrong was playing. It's at the nighttime, and the Eiffel Tower is like glowing. It's like glowing in its texture, and they're like flying. They're like fighting against each other. Well, they're arguing not to be fighting, just more so like just due to the force of what they're doing. They're like attacking each other and all this other shit. And the Radican-like figure is like he's either has no shirt on or he's not or he doesn't. Like, this is how I originally imagined Insinmind. And like a lot of characters were watching. I think it was weird. Like, I remember there were some characters that I was imagining. A video game series I was into. Like I was imagining like the people from like Sly Cooper just watching like Zanny Trampoli fight against this this figure with red eyes. He's like really buff, and they fight each other, and it's just like, whoa, like stand up, be strong, know right from wrong, forever and da 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 da. Like they just keep fighting, and they're just like, oh, this is like with the large sword, and eventually Zanny Trampoli loses. But it's really weird to imagine a combination of Timmy Brisby, or Frisbee, I don't remember specifically the name, Timmy Brisby. Like, somehow when I watched Nostalgia Critic's review, it triggered these two things in my head, and two things in my mind, of Timmy Brisby and Ichigo merged together, creating one character. creating this one character. It's very flippin' weird. And they're like, and as this character, like that I made up the name for, called Zanny Trampoli, was fighting against this guy, this Ratigan-like figure. Like they're just putting like this Ratigan-like figure is like much larger, like more than double his size, and he's like hitting him like a gorilla, like ah, and there's no sound, and eventually Zanny Trampoli loses and he falls down. That's basically what happens. I wonder if subconsciously that had something to do with the fight in Chapter 1 when Zeph Drastic was fighting against Capron, and how Capron pretty much just beat the living daylights out of Zeph in Chapter 1. I wonder if that subconsciously had something to do with it, with Capron just beating him up. It might have, but that's originally how, that is the furthest thing I can remember of the original conception of Zeph Drastic. The original, how he was originally imagined to be. He was imagined to be Timmy with his body merged with Ichigo's body, creating a merged fusion of Ichigo and Timmy combined with a white shirt and a large sword. Really, like, for some reason I do like Timmy's designs, honestly. I do like his designs. I think they're cool. I just think the movie could have been better, honestly. I actually honestly enjoyed NIMH 2. I just felt as if there were some things that were unnecessary and some things that did need to be in there. I don't hate the movie. I just thought it was pretentious in how it was utilizing things. It was pretentious in how it was operating, when it needed to be coherent in its own consistency of its presentation, because the original was consistent. The problem with NIMH 2 is that it tried too hard to be like a Disney movie, and that's where the movie reached its downfall, if you ask me, was because it tried to do too much of that, and that's to me why people detest the movies, because it tried to go to that type of aspect. When I found like the things of the dark tones of the thing, there were things that I did like about that movie. I actually liked the dark tone and the wild ideas that were in it. I just didn't like the fact that it tried to be a Disney movie. I didn't like that. That pretty much bothered me. But the thing is, that's how I originally envisioned Zeph Drastic, is to be that type of merging. And that buff Ratigan-like figure is basically the original, and like in my mind, the original villain of this entire thing. I mean, you could say that Bianca was, but she just seemed crazy. There wasn't really anything to give out except her just acting crazy, and like she wasn't showing to be attacking anyone, just kept maybe like doing something crazy to herself. Like, I don't know. I don't really remember specifically, but I do remember like the one true consistent villain in my mind that was fighting the heroes was that Ratigan-like figure. That was just what was going on in my mind. And there were other villains that were popping in my mind. There were a few other things, like with who was his name? It was Leomon, but it was like this type of, like, I was imagining a Leomon, and this type of Leomon, he had a dark and edgy looking figure to himself. He didn't look pleasant to the eyes, if you ask me. He looked very dark and edgy. He didn't look settling to look at. And he was like strangling Zanny. He was like beating him up, and the song was playing again. And he might have had a mask like Bane, and he was beating him up. And they were like in some place that looked like Jet Black, where Jet Black was when he was like in a westernized type of gun battle, like wait until who shoots first or who shoots last type of place. But they instead of like a gun battle, it was just Zanny also getting strangled by this guy. But the thing is, another thing about the first draft of about what was like the first conceived mind, idea-wise, and what was going on when I was thinking of the series, is that like Zanny Trampoli, when I was further developing it, the series was originally supposed to be called like Rabid Lands or Zany Trampoli, and there's a lot of interesting things that were going on. Like the drastics were called like the drastics or something like that, or they were called the Trampolis, but they originally called the Trampolis and all this other junk. And the Rabid Lands, they did some weird shit to people with like rabid disease, and they were causing a lot of problems with anthropomorphic animals and like furries in general. They're just doing some weird shit with making them go rabid. And Lincent was like a news reporter in this one, and she wanted to go to like this area, this facility filled with rabid animals, and it was like a horror fest going on. And this wasn't even written. This wasn't even drawn or written or just written down. This was just thought up in my mind in 2011 or 2012. I don't think there was any writing of this, period, of this at all. There was no writing at all of this. This was just imagined for like 2011 to until like 2014. I constantly just kept thinking about this every day for around 1,500 days, just constantly thinking about this, constantly just thinking about well, not constantly, but a lot of the time I was thinking about these characters. I was thinking about what they were doing. I was thinking about what was going on, about how they were how this was happening, and how Lincent met the main character, Zanny, who was not called Drastic at the time. He is, like, Zanny has, like, some weird rabies. Now, depending on what was originally imagined, like, Lincent looked different as well. Lincent did not have, like, Lincent did not have, like, purple skin, but, or green eyes. She looked more like just simply a female Zanny, or, I mean, a female Zeph. But you could say that she had that skin color if you look at the drawing on the published novel, but that was just because of I didn't have any colors to it. But the thing is, though, when it comes to how this was imagined for Lincent, her appearance is she has like long hair, but it's like ponytailed long. And it's dark, and she has red eyes. She has a pleasant face. And she still has a bust size that's large, or depending on how it was imagined. But Lincent, she, like, I just constantly kept imagining this, no matter where I was going. Just couldn't focus on anything I was doing except just imagining this. And so Lincent, when she was, like, walking, like, when she, like, arrives to here, Lincent, she, let me think. Lincent arrives to Zanny. And she's like there's well, she doesn't arrive to him yet, but there's like these rabbits, they get a hold of her, or she arrives to him later. I don't remember specifically. But one of the details I remember when I was doing this is that rabbits get a hold of her, they infect her, and all this other weird shit. And Zanny saves her, or she just meets Zanny, and she later gets in trouble with something else. But the reason why Lincent comes to like the Rabid Lands and all this other stuff is because she wants to prove that rabid people just need help. They're not really like bad people, but a lot of people don't believe it. And she's like a news reporter, but she goes anyway to make sure that it's true. That was actually originally the story of this series, and the main villain was either like a mad scientist hyena who does experimentations of rabbits, or Capron, who is otherwise known as the Rabid King. Capron was actually supposed to had a lot to do with how I originally thought of the villain, originally thought of the series, and Zanny in the end fights against it. But before that, Zanny shows Lincent what's going on of a lot of things about these kids are getting rabid disease and all this other stuff, and Zanny also informs Lincent that he's from like a family who's responsible to this. And that's basically how it goes. And the final battle is either them hiding from the hyena, and eventually then fighting against the hyena, or fighting against Capron. I don't remember specific, like there's a lot of weird ideas, like where Capron was really Zanny's comrade all along. There's a lot of very weird things going on in the original, like how this was originally conceived, because this wasn't written down at all. This was just being constantly thought up and how it was going to work. And there wasn't any like huge, like focused, well-detailed setup for the plot or anything. It was just, that was just basically it. Conception-wise, this was very underdeveloped. This is a very underdeveloped story. And there was supposed to be like and the sequel was supposed to be like a sequel and prequel of Zanny with his uncle or cousin. There was supposed to be a lot of things like with Zanny's father and all. The like things with like what the Judge's Past will later on do, and nobody knows what the Judge's Past and like the actual canonicity of Insinmind has to do with the story yet, but she will have something very important. But in the original thought of conceived draft of this, like I said, it wasn't written down, and I wasn't sure how it was ever going to end. I wasn't sure about how things were going to happen, but originally this series was supposed to be about rabies. It's supposed to be about rabies and how Lincent was going to help out Zanny and what they were going to have to do. But at the end of the original, how it was originally going to be fought up, was Zanny and Lincent getting out of that place, getting them out of there, until like getting all the getting these people out of this rabid place. This is not in the official published novel. This is like the published novel. It clearly shows that the development has far strayed away from the original source material, like from what it was originally supposed to be. Far strayed away. Far. They're like it's not even close to this in the slightest. This is like well, I would say it's not even close. It's just that it's only got some things in it, like Capron's in it. Zanny's not exactly in it, except for like some loosely based things of what it was originally conceived to be. Lincent is in it. She does help out Zeph. She does help out the main character, but in a different way. Because in the way it was fought up originally, she wanted to help Zanny try to help out with people, like with the children and people who had rabies and how it was destroying them. And she wanted to get them out of there and try to figure out a way that they can get rid of this, if there's even any way at all. That's basically what was going to happen in the original conceived draft in my mind of this. That actually is the original conception of Insinmind. There was like multiple names: Insanctificus, Incentation, Rabid Lands, Zanny Trampoli. There was even one point where I imagined Lincent to be the main character, where she was holding a gun, doing all these weird acrobats with her legs and all. Like when you do like that leg, when you move your leg right all the way to the right and upwards all the way to the left. It's really crazy. She like winks at you holding a gun. It was really strange. It's like this evil cat and all. He's like the scientist, like he's not fat and all. He kind of looks like the cat from like one of those Ghibli films, but except he's evil. That's basically what it was happening. And but that's basically, like, there was supposed to be like imagined sequel about how things were explained, how Zanny came to be, but I didn't think it. But the thing is, though, as I was imagining the sequels, they were derailing from the original conception's purpose. They were derailing from the original vision's purpose and being more like a psychological than a biological.